Oh my god, what a chapter. The final lesson, One Piece chapter 1086, was a brilliant chapter. It starts off really well with we get a flashback that basically continues the first cover story, I believe, of One Piece, where Koby and Helmeppo are training with Garp, and we see that Garp asks Helmeppo about Koby's injuries, and it turns out Koby was using the battleship bags to train because he felt like he wasn't as strong, he didn't have the aptitude, some natural aptitude that most Marines have for combat, and he just wasn't good enough, so he had to try more, and he was hitting the battleship bags. Which, to be fair, you could assume so because he's considered the new hero of the Marines, but it is fantastic to see Koby was trying so hard. And we can understand why he had such a jump in only 48 days or something since he joined the Marines when it came to NS Lobby. Like, he had Rokushiki, he had all that stuff. It makes a lot of sense now when you see the effort he was putting in through the flashback. We also get to talk about Garp's idea of justice. Basically, the idea that if there's a boat and you can only fit two people, you have to let the youngest people survive and let the old people die, as the young people are the future and they have the energy to change the world and they have the ability to change the world, where the old people are too stuck in their ways and are useless. Which is obviously hinting at what will happen in this chapter, but also what it does is it kind of informs of his style of justice, right? He's probably got future justice or like youthful justice or something like that, where he believes in the future. He believes that we've seen that with Garp. He believes change takes time and takes longer periods. That's why he didn't do anything at Marineford, because he thought if he did something now, he wouldn't be able to build up the younger Marines to follow in his footsteps, and they would be stuck following Sakazuki or Sangoku, whoever he thought would have taken the, fleet admiral position after the war if Sengoku would keep going. He thought, I need to instill these methods into the Marines, and I can't sacrifice that just to protect Ace. Which a lot of people still disagree with, including myself, but we understand it a lot more in these coming chapters because we see how Garp's thought process comes. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, why does he protect Koby and he didn't protect Ace? But the thing was, protecting Ace would have made it so he'd have to leave the Marines. And even if he's the ruler of Sword or the leader of Sword or involved in Sword in any way, that's still part of the Marines, so he can kind of be under their shadow. And the Marines know about it and it's still functioning, right? So it's not as bad. But the thing is about protecting Ace is that would basically mutiny. Be publicly saying, I don't support the Marines anymore, I'm going to protect my grandson. And then his plans for the futures, and potentially Dragon's plans for the futures, because there's a lot of talk about him potentially being part of the revolutionaries. You know what I mean? He's somewhat in cahoots with Dragon, and they talk and they update each other. You know, the way like Vegapunk is in cahoots with Dragon still. It could be the same thing where he lets his son know what's going on in the Marines, if there's anything he has to worry about, and how the reforms in the Marines are going along. So Dragon is the more revolutionary style person who's changing the world through that. Garp is changing the world in his own way through the Marines, and then we got Luffy who's just vibing the whole time and he's changing the world that way. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of think that I think that's how it goes. And if he did anything at Marineford, it would have messed it all up. And I think he saw Luffy as the opportunity. Luffy is the trendsetter. He is the guy who sets the world in motion. He sets the new trend for the new era all the time. We see that he took down Kaido, creating a new age. Trendsetting probably wasn't the right word, but you know what I mean. He takes down Kaido. He he potentially will save Ace. Like, that was Garp's idea. Luffy is that, for lack of a better word, tornado that gets all the plans up in haywire, but at the same time allows Garp to stay in his position. So that's why he let Luffy punch him, right? Because that was the idea. Because that would he'd be able to keep his position, but also he'd be able to save Ace, but Akainu got in the way of that, and that's why he was so angry with Akainu, because he still loved Ace, right? But that's what this flashback was basically about, and trying to tell us. And then we got a scene where Garp's like, look, we got to save these guys in the ship, alright? This has to be done. So essentially then, Garp basically does one of the greatest feats of the entire series, and basically just speed blitzes his way to the top where the big skull is, and just basically destroys it in two, right? The whole thing splits in two, the whole big, huge skull yoke, and Pizarro's kind of knocked out for like a second or two, and then Garp just lays on the ground. He's like, I'm done. And before that, Aokiji's up and he's like, alright, Garp, you alright, buddy? You alright? I know I'm about to kill you, but I still want to make sure you're alright. And he's like, you've gone a bit soft, Kuzan. You're still a bit soft, Kuzan. And he goes and does one of the greatest feats of all time, man. People on those Garp stocks, man, they're crazy. And I undersold Garp a lot. I even said he might have gotten weaker after Marineford because, letting Ace die might have weakened his will, but obviously not. And even if that is the case, he's still could be top 7 realistically. I need to, this year's top 30 is going to be wild with all the stuff that Garp's putting out. It's going to be crazy. Do we think he's still above Luffy, or is Luffy above Garp? Because Luffy doesn't got the same longevity that Garp has. Even if Luffy's physically stronger than Garp, Garp has that longevity. He can fight. He's fighting with his fists with pure hockey, whereas Luffy has his Devil Fruit and all the gears that waste his energy. We saw that in the latest anime episode with Gear 4, how, throughout the fight, he was he needed to keep in his energy because if he lets it go, all his hockey's going to go, right? But Garp has more longevity, so I think Garp would still take the win. He needs to find a way. Luffy needs to find a way to fight for longer periods of time before he's up to the old people's level and to Shanks' level. I think that's his big problem right now, is stamina, and that's what he needs to learn. He's got the potency, he just doesn't got the endurance or the stamina. But we see that with Garp. Garp is mad with that feat. That's actually one. Is he faster than Kizaru? That's the one thing I want to see as well. Imagine he's faster than Light. Garp is Garp's big moves in this chapter are just, they're legendary. They really are. And I think we would see he's kind of better than old Rayleigh, definitely. I'd say he's better than Sengoku as well. But I don't know if he's better than non-sick old Whitebeard. That's going to be a tough decision. I'd say we're going to talk about that a lot because obviously he's better than sick Whitebeard, but still, man, this was fantastic. It really was. All these different panels, and then we get a fantastic build-up after that, where we see Koby's squad basically, right, do a teamwork attack where Koby jumps in the air to try and break the hand, and Helmeppo is basically their bodyguard. He starts cutting up loads of stuff, and Koby's done a really good job, but Helmeppo, man, Helmeppo has gotten so strong and so skillful. He's just really good. But also, I was reading this chapter, and I was thinking, Helmeppo is basically like Usopp, yeah? And same with Koby to a degree, where they have no powers, they just... And how come Usopp never learned Rokushiki or Skywalker or anything like that? Because that's still normal stuff, and he could power up that way. I was thinking about it when I was looking at Helmeppo, because I'd say, is Helmeppo stronger than Usopp? Is that an agenda I want to die on? Because Helmeppo just looks really reliable there, you know what I mean? And obviously Usopp's been reliable when he needs to be, but still, even in the ulti fight, any damage that was done was mainly done by Nami, right? Usopp basically just saved Tama once or twice with his green horns or something. So this is my new agenda, man, that Helmeppo's stronger than Usopp. That's where I'm going, lads. But yeah, the whole squad basically does that, yeah? And then Koby goes up for an honesty impact, right, and punches the hand into bits. And here's something we need to talk about here, right? Besides the name being kind of stupid, I don't like the name too much, but it works with Koby, you know what I mean? When the live action gets there, it's gonna be real dumb, but you know what I mean? Still, I like the fact that he's this strong. I think showing that he all his work and Garp's training, where Luffy could have been if Garp took him under his wing when he became Marine. Luffy could have been far stronger than he is now, because he would have had years of training with Garp. If he wanted to be a Marine, Garp would have paid more attention to him. He would have had years training with Garp. He would have had years training under Garp as a Marine, probably earlier than 17, right? So he would have been way stronger by now, and we kind of see where Koby's at. Now, a lot of people are saying this is Advanced Conquerors because we don't see him. Actually, I'm going to check that because TCB colored the page, and I'm just going to see real quick. Okay, he definitely doesn't hit it. We don't it's a far away thing. But we is this Conquerors? Is this Advanced Conquerors? Are we actually gonna have a 15-year-old Koby have Advanced Conquerors? That would be crazy. Because we're getting introduced to loads of Advanced Conquerors hockey users since Luffy had it. But I do think it'd be a bit weird from the habit. I think it like if it was like Rio, I would have been okay with that because I'm like, yeah, okay, him being like pre-advanced conquerors level would make sense, and he awakens conquerors later on. But at the same time, we see he has the qualities of a king in this chapter. They're setting up with that, with him having the will to keep training, understanding what he needs to be a leader, leading his crew to do this attack. So in the same way, it's not too bad, is it? Kind of makes sense. And then obviously we get Prince Groose protecting people from the debris. So we see Koby's got brilliant teamwork skills, and we see the difference between him and Luffy. Whereas his crew have to kind of work around what he does. Koby's kind of just telling them how to do it and what to do. And it's really cool to see the difference because they're both really strong leaders, and they're supposed to be the two protagonists of the series, even though we don't get to see much of Koby. It's still nice to see him now putting in the work and putting in more stuff, and I'm really excited to see what Koby does in this final saga. I'm more excited than I ever was. He's still annoying though. He still let Garp get stabbed. But you know what? I still don't get that now, because if he has advanced conquerors, how is his observation not catching Shiryu? Shiryu has to ignore Hockey somehow. There has to be some reason for that. And Garp just has to have known because he could see the footsteps or something. And in that sense, right? But I really don't know. I don't know how Koby would have made that mistake. Because I was even thinking back, I rewatched the episode and everything when he stops the torpedo from hitting Rebecca's ship, and I'm like, man, like if you can do that, how could you not cop on to Shiryu? Even like the observation Hockey should have like told him the changes in the wind or some shit. I don't know. But like, come on, I don't know. Especially if that's advanced advanced hockey, right? Because I would have said if it was just Rio, I would kind of let him off. Maybe he's been focusing a lot on Rio and his observation slipped a little bit. I don't know. But like, if you're having advanced Conquerors hockey, if this is advanced Conquerors hockey, how are you going to not be able to catch up on that? Because obviously your observation should be decent as well. We see that. It's a fantastic observation. But my God, man, Koby's growth rates are insane, and this chapter shows you everything about it. But then after they protect it, right? Obviously, Garp, the whole thing, what it's been building up to, was essentially Garp saying, get out of here. I'll be fine. I'll find a way to get out. Essentially, and they have to leave Hachinosu or Full of Lead, yeah. But one of my favorite panels in this chapter out of everything was Garp just laying there with an ice cube, with an ice spike in his chest, just being like, with a smile on his face, and all the Blackbeard pirates knowing they've lost, being like, oh crap, we still lost. And I don't think they're gonna kill him because they say he went missing. All right, they do say he went missing. And the reason I don't think they're gonna kill him is because if he's going to die, he has to die in front of Luffy. Still, in my opinion, but also we could see it where maybe someone takes Moria's fruit, because we heard about Moria, he was reintroduced. Someone takes Moria's fruit and maybe like controls Garp. Maybe that's the new ability he has. He can control living people, not just shadows, but he turns them into a shadowy figure, like a shadowy version of Garp. And maybe Luffy will have to fight the shadowy version of Garp, controlled by either Moria, who's part of Blackbeard's crew now, or whoever took Moria's fruit, which I think would be interesting. You know what I mean? But I am a bit disappointed we don't see Perona and Moria do anything, even in any way. But they did get mentioned, so I'd like to see it again. But like, what a chapter. We also hear they talk about that Luffy deals with a siege on Egghead. So we're probably going to jump back to that in the next chapter when the break is finished. But man, I can't wait to see what happens. I want it to kind of tie up, right? If Garp is dead in some regard, I want Luffy to find out about this. A lot of people are saying a lot of stuff will happen. Like I saw, obviously I've been talking about in the previous review, I was saying, Blackbeard is going to kill Jay Garcia. But a lot of people now, I saw this on Twitter, I can't remember who, said Dragon is going to kill Jay Garcia. And that could happen at the end of the year. I've seen Dragon will make his move, and that might be its first ever move to start the Great War. But I just think it would make more sense for it to be, Blackbeard, for two main reasons. One, Blackbeard is all about causing chaos, right? He's going to bring the world into chaos. Remember his big speech in Marineford? All that stuff, right? He's about causing mayhem. And I think Dragon would have a more planned out way of killing Jay Garcia. And I don't think that would lead to as much shock unless we cut away and it happened, right? And I think his move is going to be a much bigger move. Like he might wipe out everything in Egghead, or he's going to like the millions of ships. We think this is going to be a moment where Luffy shows off his conqueror's hockey and knocks out all the bad all the marines that are shit, and all that's left is Garcia and vice admirals and Kuzan, right? But I think what it's going to be is Dragon's going to rock up on the island to either save Vegapunk or reprimand Vegapunk in some way, and he's just gonna unleash his conquerors, and man, even Luffy's weak on his knees. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be absolutely crazy. That's what I think is gonna happen, yeah, and that's how Luffy escapes, because Blackbeard's like, I'm not dealing with Dragon right now, right? But he still has the blood of Garcia on his hands. But I don't know what I want to happen when it comes to the fight, because we know there's going to be a siege, there's going to be a lot of fighting. I do not know who I want to fight, because in a way, right, Kizaru, right, I'd love him to fight Luffy. I would love Luffy to fight an Admiral, but at the same time, I would love seeing, because we saw Kizaru was the one who did this in Marineford, where he was about to attack Whitebeard, and Marco was like, you're not attacking the king, right? And he comes out in a big flirt and he's like, you're not attacking the king. I would love if Kizaru goes to attack Luffy and either Zoro on his own or Zoro and Sanji stop him and they're like, you're not going near our captain. And we get a 2v1 of Zoro and Sanji versus Kizaru. Because obviously, as you know, I believe the three original admirals are way stronger than the two other ones. So I think they would be equivalent to a Yonko each, in my opinion. Because I'd say Garp is definitely equivalent to a Yonko, and Kuzan was keeping up with that, right? So I think the original admirals are definitely Yonko level, and then the other two of them, so like Fujitora and Green Bull, are like first commander level, right? So I think Sanji and Zoro are together would be a really cool fight, and then even, and maybe we'll have Luffy and Blackbeard fight off a little bit, but I kind of want that more than I want Luffy versus Kizaru. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about it, though. There's going to be some crazy stuff happening at Egghead. I'm actually excited to get back to it now, to be honest with you. Because it's been a while away from it. I've loved Garp and I've loved MC Sabo, of course, But it's going to be exciting to see what happens or how the incident happens. And obviously, I want Vivi back. I want Vivi to come back somehow in this arc. I can't remember if they're over Egghead or what's going on. But I want our Queen of Alabasta back on the crew. I want to see that headline. Queen of Alabasta allies with Straw Hats. Man, that would be so cool. But also, if we notice, the speech in the siege part lines up with the Grand Fleet will be involved in the big event. Imagine if this is the big event that the Grand Fleet are on and that's how we save Luffy. Obviously, I made a video way back. I just saw the thumbnail again the other day about Luffy, Grand Fleet saving Luffy and Wano. But it's going to happen on Egghead, and I can't wait to see it. And we're gonna have the new Grand Fleet with I'd say some of the Marco and all that might end up joining up at the end of this arc. And we know the samurai are essentially part of it. The minks are all part of it, essentially, kind of. And I think in a way they are. And I'm gonna be very excited to see what's happening. It'd be funny if it's everyone but Bartolomeo, because Shanks still hasn't tied up at Elbad. And we're gonna wait, and that's gonna be like the big fight. Is like, oh, I'll fight you for Bart or whatever, and that's how in a friendly way we get Luffy versus Shanks or something. I don't know, but I'm very excited for this upcoming pseudo war arc to begin. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see what One Piece has got next for us after a break, sadly. But what can you do, right?